So this is my 26-foot wide by 35-foot deep with 9-foot sidewall metal building. When I purchased this building, I had every intention of finishing the inside for a wood shop. But while researching everything online, I couldn't find anything that was what I wanted to do to finish the inside, or any good ideas on how to finish the inside that wasn't labor intensive or very expensive. So I thought that I'd share a video on how I finished my building, and hopefully it will help somebody in the future. So let's go inside and take a look. So here we are inside, and I'd first like to start by making a few suggestions when you buy one of these metal buildings. Really look at the budget that you have and decide on where you want to spend money or skimp on things. I recommend getting the biggest building that you can afford, because you will regret in the end that you didn't buy a bigger building. And the other thing I would look at is I chose to take the cheaper route and put in horizontal siding. If you can afford putting in vertical siding, I would suggest doing that, because when you put in vertical siding, they are forced to put in a hat channel between the metal studs of the trusses. That stiffens up your building and makes it much stronger. And it also gives you a place behind it if you wanted to run electrical or other things as well. I also recommend trying to finish your building while it's still empty. I didn't do that. I had all kinds of crap put in here before I started finishing, and I just have to keep moving it after I finish a section of the building, and it's really a pain in the butt. The first thing I did was I took 2x2 pressure treated lumber and put it around the entire perimeter of my building. Screwed it into the base with self-tapping screws. And the reason I use this is that it'll keep my OSB up off the floor, keep it from getting wet, and then the load of the OSB is transferred to this 2x2. The metal trusses in the stud walls are 2.5 inches. So are 2x3 lumber. So what I did was that I built framing in between each one of these metal studs, and then I mounted them to the steel using these L brackets. And then 2/3 of the way up where the braces start, which was my nemesis, I split the difference between the brace above and below so I could attach my OSB to it. The big problem I had was trying to figure out how to notch around these braces. So what I did is I took my OSB and I stopped it at the bottom of the brace. Then I took the much smaller, much easier manageable piece that it was cut from, and I notched it around the brace. And then when I went to mount it, it split the 2x4, and I could attach it from below for the one piece of OSB and above for the notched piece of OSB. So the bracing in between two of the stud truss walls looks something like this. And then where the boards met to the cross board, the 2x4, I toe-nailed those in and or used the L brackets. It is very sturdy. And then at the top, I took another 2x3 and turned it up on end, and the flat board is up 107.25 inches, so I could get my 9-foot OSB to hit there. And then above it, I will just use as a backer board if I ever want to put something there. It was also a filler to attach my insulation to. And yes, they do make 4x9 sheets of OSB. I found it at the big box store that has the green symbol, if that makes any sense, green logo. The next thing I did is that I installed this reflective insulation against my frame. It's not got a real high insulation factor, but it is reflective, and I can tell you it really works after having it out in the sunshine and working on one side and having it reflect back on me. It was like being in an oven. So it does work, and I can already tell, even though I've only got maybe 2/3 of my building done, it does make a difference in the heat that was coming through in the summer. And in the wintertime, I don't plan on it being real warm in here. I've got some space heaters and things that, as long as I can keep it above freezing and able to work in here, that's all I want. And here is an example of the finished wall, and you can see an example of how I cut my OSB. I cut it right to the bottom of the brace, and then I notched the matching piece above it and then screwed it in. Worked out pretty good. Here's the length of wall that I have finished. This is about halfway down the side of my building, and then I made the corner and finished the doorway area. Next, I'll be doing the ends after I get finished here and keep going. When it comes to electrical for the building, I got a real good deal on this 12-3 metal clad wire that I decided to use on my building that is metal clad. And so I chose to do what's called a multi-wire branch circuit. That way when I run my receptacles, each receptacle is on a separate circuit. And I chose to run them like every 5 feet down the side of my building. So I have plenty of outlets. There'll be less chance of tripping because if I have to plug in two different things, I'll be plugging them into two different receptacles and they won't be on the same circuit. I chose to surface mount my receptacles for a few reasons. It's much easier, less laborious, and I change my mind a lot. So if I ever want to move them, it's very easy to move because I'd only have to take out one small section. So in hindsight, when getting this metal clad wiring, I was told by electricians, the internet and so on, that it can't make 90-degree bends because the casing will break. Well, that looks like a pretty soft 90-degree elbow to me. So with that being said, there was another option I could have done when I was wiring the building. In hindsight, I might have been able to take and run my metal clad wire in the ribs behind all my framing and then recessed all my receptacles. So that's another option that you consider when you're finishing your building. The only problem is that this L will be at the corner of your metal building, which is only covered with a metal corner piece. And as long as you can make that L, I think it should work out just fine. I wish I had tried it before I did this, but hindsight's 20/20. So there you go. That's what I did to finish my building. I'm not looking for a bunch of followers. I just thought I'd make this video in hopes that it might help somebody finish their building that was looking for at least what I feel is a decent method and not real expensive. So thanks for watching and good luck. Bye.